Ivana Trump, ex-wife of former President Trump, is found dead at the bottom of her stairs with a cardiac arrest. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that, where that goes, and what this means, and just how much of conspiracy theorists our friends over to the left are as well. So we'll go over all that in the opening of the show. In other news, the Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, D-Twitch, gets heckled outside of the Capitol after she stops to take a selfie with the heckler. Right about the same time, it's coming out that she is starting to call out the Capitol Police and their role in the 1/6 Selfie Fest. So we'll talk about both of those stories together. The mother of the supposed alleged 10-year-old rape victim gives a very bizarre interview to Telemundo in which she says that everything that you hear about the gentleman in question is a lie. So we'll go over some of what's going on with that. And a spate of European leaders just suddenly resigns out of nowhere altogether. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that and what's happening over in Europe. It is going to be all this and more. You're my favorite breakfast tacos. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, Ed Heads. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar. I don't know if we're going to get some new people in from the Jesse Kelly shout out yesterday. We'll be talking about that in just a minute. But if you guys are here, welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and we are going to go over news and headlines until just a little bit after 9 o'clock this morning, talking about what it is that we're seeing here, what's going on there, and what's going on in the world. And as was mentioned, why you should care. I attempted to build a better news show that is by the common man for the common man, so that's what we're here for. So strap yourselves in, and if you are here today for the first time, you've picked the best day to do so, because I don't usually go over the chat while I'm live, because you get a lot of trolls in here who try to pull a conversation, try to get you banned from various platforms. But what I do on Friday, since this is still a small show, is I do give a special thank you to the people who chatted throughout the week, and we go over some of the live chat today as well. We actually look through and see some of the best stuff you have. Now, I am competing with the AM radio folks, so I don't get too spicy like I used to when the show started. I've adjusted that there, but I do have the names of everybody who chatted in the live chat written down on my handy-dandy notebook here, and all these names are going to get read with a special thank you today, and we'll go over some of the stuff that you guys are saying over here as well. So let me actually get that up so we can see what's going on here. We got a little bit of chill music going on here. We've got some cool vibes. We've got some news. We've got some really odd stories to go over here today, so we're going to get into it, definitely. And sit down, hang out, talk with some of your new friends over here, and let's get this show started. All right. Before we start in with the news, make sure you guys go check out the Daily Ignoramus, the Breakdown with Birkenhoff, the R-Rated Conservative, and the Porch Boys. Go check out all those shows. They are all great friends to the movement, to the great friends to rebuilding the society more by the common man for the common man. We are working together to put together a website in which you can get all of your news, culture, commentary, and even comedy in some cases, by the common man for the common man. So do check out. We have a start page over there, turnsofpagesproductions.com. Go and check that out. But again, it's just a start page with some links to go back and check me out while we are raising money right now to go back and get everything started. So go check that out, turnsofpagesproductions.com. Go check out Daily Ignoramus, Breakdown with Birkenhoff, R-Rated Conservative, Porch Boys, Brit Salt, Tweets by Brit, KTZed. KTZ is not here. Go check out all those great friends to the movement, to everything else, and let's get started. All right, let's look into the Dow to start with for the morning here. The Dow has dropped to 30,630.17. That is not its lowest point from yesterday. That is our new close, though. The lowest point yesterday was 3153.91. The Dow for the last probably week has been flirting with the 30,000 line. They can't just quite fall over it just yet, but it gets there, it claws its way back up, it gets there, it claws its way back up. And I do think that there is a little bit of honking going on with that as well, but a lot of people are real nervous about what's happening with the inflation right now and the fact that, yes, there's going to be a recession. Now, one of the things to watch with that, one of the things to go with on that is the fact that if it does recess, the 401k people, the backyard investor people, and the people who are going to start up a new business or a new startup or buy that house, those are going to be the ones that are left out in the cold, as I've been saying. The government is not going to stop spending money off the rate hikes. That is there to keep you out of the market. So something to pay attention to and where this goes. We will continue to watch this and look at the Dow every morning to see where it tracks and where it goes. We will look at the Bitcoin, which is at $20,771 and 80 US cents. Since midnight, that is up $218 and 30 US cents, 1.06% off. Let's get a quick refresh off of that. Let's bring this out to 5 days and see that it was low enough in the last 5 days to the 19,000 line. It's clawed its way back up, and it fell again at midnight, and now it's clawed its way back up again. So we will continue to watch this and see where this goes. The gas, again, some reprieve. We're not seeing the twos like we saw all the way back at Christmas, but to 385 in the Sun Prairie area. I actually might throw some gas in just to say I did at this point, because we're seeing threes down by me. This is, of course, up in the Madison area. 389 in Sun Prairie. Going out to some of the other Sun Prairie shops. The race is at 395. The Speedway is at 398. But no more fours on this page anywhere. $3.99 out in DeForest, $3.99 at Madison proper. So we're there. Only $2 more to go to get back to where we were back in Inauguration Day, but this is a win compared to where we were at. It's a small win. It's a tiny win. But it's a win nonetheless. And under an administration like what we have right now, we have to take whatever win we can get our hands on at this point. So take the win. Go toss a little bit of fuel in your vehicle. Let's see what IBD has to say for the morning. Dow futures market rallies back as Fed hawks say this. Tesla rival soars from Ed Carson. Hey, look, an advertisement. Dow futures rose slightly Friday morning along with the S&P and the Nasdaq futures, with United Health providing a boost, while hopes dimmed on capital for solar stocks. The stock market rally fought back from the big morning losses to close mixed on Thursday as two hawkish Fed officials erased rate hike fears somewhat. Dow component United Health Group reported better than expected second quarter results before the open and raised a full year guidance, kicking off quarterly earnings for health insurers and medical services firms broadly. UNH stock rose 1% in pre-market trade on Thursday. Shares reversed higher from the 50-day line to close up 0.2% to 502.43, not far from a 518.90 buy point. Wells Fargo missed earnings and sales early Friday, following weaker than expected earnings from JP and Morgan Stanley on Thursday. Wells Fargo stock fell 1% from early Friday. Citigroup top views. Citi rose 2% before the open after falling to its worst level since late 2020 on Thursday. Phase Energy, Solar Edge Technologies, and other solar and green energy stocks fell on the news that Senator Manchin won't support climate or tax provisions in a big Democratic spending package. Manchin, the crucial vote in the 50-50 Senate, had previously supported some of the climate provision, but he's more concerned about the inflation pressures now. Phase Energy fell 5%. It's interesting. We have Phase Energy and Solar Edge here, who are now falling because one senator won't support climate or tax provisions. Now, here's the big question. Why are these private companies tied to government contracts? And what do we do to stop this? Stocks to watch. Meanwhile, Dollar Tree, BJ's, and Lantheus Holdings flashed buy signals on Thursday, while McKesson had a bullish shakeout. China EV and battery giant BYD surged on Thursday on bullish earnings guidance, but still down sharply for the week following the rumors that Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway may sell some of its big BYD stock stake. China EV startup Li Auto remains actionable, while Tesla takes between two key moving averages. Lantheus stock is on the IBD leaderboard. Dollar Tree and Li Auto are on Swing Trader. Dollar Tree, Lantheus, BJ's, McKesson, United Health, and Lee stock are all in the IBD 50. Merck and Dollar Tree are also on the IBD Big Cap 20. On the futures, Dow futures climbed 0.4% versus fair value, with United Health providing a slim boost. The S&P advanced 0.2%, and the Nasdaq rose a fraction. The 10-year yield dipped 2 points to 2.94%. Crude oil futures rose more than 1%, so something to pay attention to. Are we going to start seeing some more gas prices once again? Something to watch for. China economic data was mixed overnight. Second quarter GDP rose 0.4% versus a year earlier, managing to grow despite COVID lockdowns during quarter two, but missing views for 1%. June industrial production grew 3.9% versus a year before, just below the consensus for 4.1%. Retail sales, though, climbed 3.1%, defying views for flat results. China eked out GDP growth of 0.4% in the second quarter from a year ago, missing expectations as the economy struggled to shake off the impact of the Pinko-Pox controls. On Friday, investors will get U.S. retail sales and industrial production data for June, allowing the Empire Manufacturing Index for July. And remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. So a lot of stuff that's moved over the past 24 hours. We will continue to watch this and see where this goes. Let's grab one from CNBC, and I've actually got one more finance article after this talking about what's happening on the On the working man's front, let's say that. From CNBC, Dow falls 142 points as Wall Street weighs more aggressive Fed. Disappointing bank earnings from Samantha Subin and Carmen Reinecke. Stocks slipped on Thursday as big bank earnings kicked off with disappointing results, and traders assess the possibility of even tighter U.S. monetary policy from the Federal Reserve as recessionary fears lingered. The Dow shed 0.46 or 142.62 to 3630.17, while the S&P dipped 0.3% to 3790.38. The Nasdaq Composite inched 0.03% higher to finish at 11,251.19. Stocks closed in negative territory, but well off their lows. At one point, the Dow plummeted as much as 628 points, while the Nasdaq and the S&P fell more than 2% each. Equities were on track to close out the week in negative territory. If the banks are a barometer of the whole economy, as well as what we're likely to get from the earnings reports, going forward, it's going to be an ugly quarter, said Stan Stovall, chief investment strategist at CFRA. Earnings results from major banks on Thursday offered further clues into health of the U.S. economy. Fears of a recession loom. J.P. Morgan sank 3.5% after the bank added reserves for bad loans and halted its shares buyback program, signaling a more cautious economic outlook. As profits dipped, CEO Jamie Dimon warned that the economy could take a hit from surging inflation, geopolitical tensions, and dwindling consumer confidence sometime down the road. Continuing the trend, Morgan Stanley shares slipped about 0.4% on the back of a sharp decline in investment banking revenue, while Goldman Sachs, which is set to report earnings on Monday, fell nearly 3%. Earnings from big banks continue on Friday, with results from Wells Fargo and Citigroup, which dropped 0.8% and about 3% respectively during Thursday's session. The results from banks raise further concerns that earnings estimates have perhaps risen too much in recent months. How much those numbers decline depends on the state of the economy and how hard a recession hits and when and if it strikes, said Bob Dahl, Chief Investment Officer at Crossmark Global Investments. The market is finally concerned about the fact that estimates, having gone up almost nonstop during the first half of the year, are going to be under some pressure. And of course, today's culprit is J.P. Morgan. He said, how can corporate America, in the wake of slowing economy and cost pressures, have the earnings that have been expected by the consensus? Those numbers have to come down. So, the banks are hurting. The energy sector is hurting. From both ways, the green and the, what do we call that, the black energy sector? It's hurting in both directions. Manufacturing is hurting. Consumer purchasing is hurting. Pretty much the only thing that's not hurting right now is food, because you got to eat. And at some point, that's going to start to hurt too, especially once we start seeing the results of the fertilizer shortages. So, as I said, pick up some veggies now. Learn how to can, learn how to preserve, learn how to freeze, and start looking into ways that you can come back and weather a storm, because it is coming. All right, let's just grab one here for the working man. Very briefly here from the New York Post. Average Manhattan rent breaks $5,000 for the first time in history. From Zach Kusin. The average rental price in Manhattan topped $500 for the first time in Big Apple history, according to jaw-dropping June market report, compiled by Douglas Elliman and Miller Samuel. Specifically, the study tallied the average Manhattan rent of $50.58 per month, which alone would set a city tenant back nearly $61,000 a year. That figure marks a 1.7% month-over-month climb from $49.75 average rent recorded in May, as well as 29% year-over-year spike from the $39.22 average found in June of 2021. Last month, Elliman and Miller Samuel revealed that Manhattan's median rent reached $4,000 for the first time ever in May, a 25.2% year-over-year jump from the $31.95 median the previous May. Median rent is the midpoint value of the total price samples. Average rent is the sum of all rents divided by the number of the sample size. Since late 2021, rents have risen for a variety of factors, one of which includes ongoing record-high inflation rates. Locals also began returning to the city from their COVID hideaways, first as schools reopened and later as companies implemented hybrid office home arrangements. Out-of-towners who work full-time remote also began moving to New York to take advantage of their locational flexibility. Element also added that with an increase in mortgage rates, would-be buyers have turned to renting, adding even more pressure to an already tight market, which has lately been marked by bidding wars to secure leases for a scarce number of units. Dude, I don't know how you guys do this. I really don't. And by the way, that's the average, which means half of them are more than that. Is it possible that there are places in Manhattan that are $10,000 a month? Why would you live there? I mean, I think $675 is outrageous. Maybe that's just my small town mindset going on there. But to each their own. I guess that's the price you pay to live in the city. You know, plus the crime, plus the smog, plus the pollution, plus the uppity people who are always in a hurry. But hey, you'll be able to go over and get that nice bagel with lox at any point that you want. All right, let's get into the news of the day. Before we get started, I do want to say and give a big shout out here to friend of the show, Arvolt, who may or may not be lurking in the chat right now. But I had this come across my mentions yesterday. Jesse Kelly tweets out, "Who's a pundit on the right that you think should be way bigger than they are and why?" P.S. noted, I said why. I swear I said why. Let me check again. Yes, I said why. Heterocentrist, Arvolt24, tweets back, "Pundit may not be the right term, but at Edsblog Twitter, with a 1 in place of the I, which, by the way, that might be changing in the near future, so pay attention to that, brings the news to us without the garbage mainstream media getting in the way. Finance, breaking news, and politics with some pointed commentary on why we should or shouldn't care. It's where I get my news every day." So, as I said, we may start seeing a few more people threading in here with some chat. Welcome them, remind them that we'll be going over the chat at the end of the day of Friday, and encourage them to speak back and forth with you guys, absolutely. But I do have to say, for Arvolt, thank you for that. And by the way, there will also be, and I mentioned that in this thread here, a new microphone coming. I gotta pay a couple bills yet this month, but I'm looking at, I've already found the one that I want. It's a step up from what we have here, which I think might just starting to be getting, I didn't even realize that it had gotten as bad. I was listening back, I was basically showing off the show to a friend on Sunday, and hearing myself again for the first time and realizing, man, I sound like crap off of this, but I think it's this guy right here. And let's be completely honest about it. It's probably getting worn out. It was a $20 microphone that I got when I started off here. The quality was good when I got it. But we went from doing an hour's worth of voice use of it a week, maybe 2 hours, because I did 2 solo videos, and usually it was an hour of content, until I went back and edited it back down to 10 minutes. But yeah, 2 hours a week to 2 hours a day. And we've been doing this now for, I've been using this same microphone since we started, so we've been doing this now for almost 3 years of 2 hours a day on a $20 microphone. Equipment breaks down after a while, so it's time. And it's time to spend a little bit of money and get something a little bit better, too. We've grown. We've got a new audience. We've got new members in here, so that'll be coming down the pipes here. Got one picked out. Got the one that I want. So, yeah, we'll probably look to that before the end of the month here. But yeah, definitely. That was probably one of the better reviews of the show. And I do want to talk about, and that's part of what I said. News by the common man for the common man. This is why you should care about this and not this. Even though the mainstream media is going to try to shove this down your throat. We'll be talking about that with the big booty Latina thing later on. And yes, even though I made that the title card of this episode, I don't think you should care about it. I think that it's completely, it's a psyop. So, that's what we have for that. Thank you, Arvolt, for that. switch these around because this is the one I want to do first. So we're going to start with an F in the chat off of this one. I'm not going to lie, I honestly didn't care about this either. But it is worth noting in the record that it happened. Ivana Trump dead. Former President Trump's ex-wife found at the bottom of staircase in New York City home. From Ben Kesslin, Larry Salona, Tina Moore, and Elizabeth Rosner. Ivana Trump, the Czech-American businesswoman and ex-wife of former President Trump, died Thursday in Manhattan. She was 73. The 45th president announced the death of his first wife and the mother of his 3 children, Don Jr., Eric, and Ivanka, on his Truth Social platform. I am very sad to inform all those that loved her, of which there are many. She's very great. A lot of people loved her, okay? That Ivana Trump has passed away at her home in New York City, he wrote. She's a wonderful, beautiful, and amazing woman who led a great and inspirational life. Her pride and joy were her 3 children, Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric. She was so proud of them, as they were all proud of her. Rest in peace, Ivana. Police are investigating whether Ivana Trump may have fallen down the stairs at her home on East 64th Street. Sources told the Post she was found at the bottom of the staircase and believed to have suffered cardiac arrest, though the city's medical examiner's office will determine the official cause of death. Building staff discovered her body around 12:40 p.m. and then called the cops, sources said. Ivana's health had been declining over the past few years, a source close to the family said. Born Ivana Marie Zelnikova in Czechoslovakia, Ivana Trump was a competitive skier in her youth, almost making the Olympic team by some accounts. She worked as a model in the early 70s, met her future husband, Donald Trump, in New York City in 1976. They married a year later. The two divorced in 92, but she kept her ex-husband's famous surname. Ivana was known for her taste in the finer things in life, her gaudy interior designs, and her big blonde hair. It's the biggest blonde. She's got big blonde hair. Huge. Huge. It's going to be huge. Her marriage to then real estate mogul thrust her into the spotlight, where she both shined and struggled. As a fixture of the 80s New York high society, not high school society, although there's not a lot of difference between the two. Ivana Trump called the likes of Michael Jackson her friends and routinely found herself on the covers of magazines and papers. You couldn't walk down the street without people stopping her. Not everyone loved Donald Trump. Everyone loved Ivana, her friend and former publicist Todd Shapiro told the Post. She always brought her dog with her, Tiger. Tiger would sit with her at the table wherever she went. Tiger was her partner in crime. Outside his mother's townhouse on Thursday after her death was announced, Eric told reporters, "It's a very sad day. It's a very sad day," as he left with wife Lara Trump. In a statement, he said that her mother was an incredible woman, a force in business, a world-class athlete, a radiant beauty, and caring mother and friend. She will be dearly missed by her mother, her 3 children, and 10 grandchildren, he added. A source close to Ivanka told the Post that the former first daughter is in shock over her mother's death. They were super close, the source said, adding that Ivana had spent her last days with family in New York City. In an Instagram post on Thursday, Ivanka wrote that she was heartbroken by the passing of her mother. Mom was brilliant, charming, and passionate, and wickedly funny. She modeled strength, tenacity, and determination in her every action. She lived her life to the fullest, never forgetting an opportunity to laugh, or foregoing rather an opportunity to laugh and dance, she said. So, a lot of stuff that went along with that. There are a lot of things that are coming out with that, by the way. And by the way, you guys think, why the hell is there a Plan B ad? I go out of my way to make sure that I never need to use Plan B. Why is there a Plan B ad on here? It probably is because we talk about abortion a lot here, because that's the big topic of the news, and, Google's always listening. Some things to talk about with this. Now, they call us the conspiracy theories. They call anybody who thinks that Ray Epps might not be a toward person, who might have had some problems. They call that person a conspiracy theorist. But if you look down Twitter right now, especially in a trend about Ivana Trump, the first thing that you'll see is a bunch of people saying, well, the Trumps were about to be deposed. There's a deposition coming on here, and she suddenly has a cardiac arrest and fell down the stairs. Oh my God! Is there foul play? Did she get Epsteined? I don't think it's anything like this. A 73-year-old woman who took to excesses in life, passing away from cardiac arrest is probably not that far out of the question. That's young for New York socialites. Not really. You're only using that as a comparison because you see the Donald and the Biden. But one other one that was brought forward from this. Andrea Mitchell. Statement by Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States. He's fundraising off of this. And then he posts a screenshot in an emailer. I'm very saddened to inform all those that loved her, of which there were many, that she was great, that Ivana Trump has passed away in her home in New York City. Wonderful, beautiful, amazing woman. Led a great and inspirational life. Her pride and joy were her 3 children, Don Jr., Ivanka, and Eric. She was so proud of them, as we were also proud of her. Rest in peace, Ivana. And then, of course, the point in question, donate to Save America. Paid for by Save America, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. Donald J. Trump. Now, this is a screenshot, so we can't see what's above this, which is probably an email address, because I'm sure that Andrea Mitchell, looking for anything that she can use, I have to see everything that Donald posts immediately. I'm sure she's on the Donald Trump mailing list for Truth Social and the alert tweets for Truth Social. So what I can probably see for this, Mostly Peaceful says this is fake. I don't think this is fake. I think this is real. On an email template that comes out from the president, this is probably the signature at the bottom. This probably goes out at the bottom of every truth alert that they put out from Truth Social. Donate to Save America. I will admit, this looks very bad. To have a fundraising at the bottom of a guy who's telling the world about the passing of his ex-wife. But was there malice to it? I don't think so. I don't believe there was malice to it at all. In fact, I think it's just an unfortunate consequence of using the emailer, to be completely honest. Rex Chapman says, there is no bottom. So, whatever you believed in, Ivana, may you find peace in the afterlife. I hope it was Christianity. So you can be in paradise with the rest of us. We don't know what that is. She seemed to be very personal and private with her religious beliefs, but I do hope you find peace in this next life. Let's get into some more news of the day. Bill Kristol put this out, and I just thought this was stupid. As did a lot of people. Straightforward from here. Biden announces he's not running again, which he's not going to do because that would throw our foreign policy into chaos and a lot of our domestic policy into chaos as well, as the billionaire donor class starts to go and court whoever's going to be following him up to try to own the next generation of politicians, because they own this generation, let's face it. 2022 focus turns to our extremism. Dems do well in November. No, they're not going to do well in November. Inflation subsides. Ukraine defeats Russia. Biden is successful one-term president. Okay. Younger moderate D defeats Trump or Trumpist in 2024. And then I don't know, because I don't speak French, I don't know what this bottom part means. Pourquoi pas? Yeah, keep dreaming, Bill. Dog Guy says, except that Biden will not announce that for the obvious reasons I just said. D's will not do well in November regardless. Inflation is going nowhere before a lot of people feel a lot of pain, and Biden is in the 30s. Inflation is not going anywhere either, by the way. And one of the things I pointed out when we were talking about the economy earlier and the finance is the fact that we're going to start getting into a situation here where, because we didn't get fertilizer for pretty much the entire planting season. Now they're trying to stanch the bleeding off of this and get the tariffs taken off of fertilizer so we can import some of it somehow from somewhere. But we're not getting the same level of fertilizer that we were getting. So our crop yields hopefully will be sustainable, but they're not going to be what they're at before. And that is going to take another step into the inflation as bidding wars and price wars start for the same product. And this is the most important, especially when you look at the people who are pulling the strings of the Biden admin, the D's are not going to produce a moderate. I thought I put a like on this one. I guess I didn't. So that's Bill Crystal for you. Let's talk about AOC. Alexandria Ocasio-Chavez, D-Twitch, heckled, called Big Booty Latina in viral video. From Dara Roche. Video of a comedian heckling Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Chavez and saying that she was a big booty Latina who wants to kill babies has gone viral on Twitter after the Democrats shared the footage. I really think if she'd have just left it alone, it wouldn't have gone viral, by the way. The video shows social media personality Alex Stein outside the U.S. Capitol as Ocasio-Chavez approaches the steps of the building. He recorded himself calling her my favorite big booty Latina. I posted about a deeply disgusting incident that happened today on the Capitol steps, but I took it down because it's clearly someone seeking extremist fame. Okay, puppy? Ocasio-Cortez tweeted on Wednesday. It's just a bummer to work in an institution that openly allowed this, but I'm talking about it only invites more. It's just really sad, okay? In another tweet, Ocasio-Chavez shared the video of Stein, which had been viewed 1.3 million times as of early Thursday morning. I was actually walking over to deck him because no one will protect us. We'll watch the video. She wasn't. Well, protect us, then I'll do it myself. But I needed to catch a vote more than a case today, okay, puppy? The Democrat wrote. In the video, which we will watch, Stein says, AOC, my favorite big booty Latina. I love you, AOC. You're my favorite. She wants to kill babies, yet she's still beautiful. You look very beautiful in that dress. You look very sexy. Look at that booty on AOC. Ocasio-Chavez, briefly confronted Stein and made a peace sign to the camera before walking up the Capitol steps. Stein continued speaking onto the camera as she walked away and added, hot, 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 like a tamale. So I've watched the video. This one I pre-watched. It looks to me, and she's got the stupid mask on her face. She's got that on her face, so you can't hear anything, you can't see anything, you can't see her facial, you can't see her emotions or anything else, or if she's smiling or if she's angry or anything else like that. But this doesn't look like somebody who's walking over to deck somebody. This is looking like somebody who thinks that she has a selfie opportunity with a fan. She probably has no idea who Alex Stein is. And then once she got in there, her Instagram live, 10 trillion followers, went back and said, oh, by the way, that guy's a right-winger. Now you have to be angry about this. Let's watch. So there's the tweet in question. We'll put some audio with this. Deeply disgusting incident that happened today on the Capitol steps, but I took it down because it's clearly someone seeking extremist fame. But let me go back and repost it one more time so everybody can see it here.
AOC, my favorite big booty Latina. I love you, AOC. You're my favorite. She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. You look very beautiful in that dress. You look very sexy. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
I want you to do a little selfie.
I love it. My favorite AOC. Nice to meet you, AOC. Look how sexy she looks in that dress. Woo, I love it, AOC. Hot, hot, hot like a tamale. AOC, my favorite big booty Latina.
Let's focus in on this here.
You look very sexy. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
I want you to do a little selfie.
I love it. My favorite.
Why don't you do a little selfie, okay, puppy? She is not walking over there to deck him. She had no idea. Again, she probably has no idea who this dude. I don't know who this dude is. She just saw somebody pointing a camera at her and says, "Oh, there's probably a fan, okay, puppy?"
AOC, nice to meet you, AOC. Look how sexy she looks in that dress. Woo, I love it, AOC. Hot, hot, hot like a tamale. See, my.
So, yeah, I think that's a full-on lie. But the memes have been coming like crazy. And I want to thank Grant, who does the server maintenance for my Discord server, and also runs his own Discord server. If you are not in Grant's Discord server, reach out to him in my Discord server and ask him if that's something that you'd be interested in joining, because he runs his own. He does brilliant. That's why he does the maintenance for mine, is because he does so brilliantly with his own. But he posted this in my Discord server. That is funny. I like that. If it fit the aspect ratios, that actually might be my new Twitter profile picture. I like that. That's fun. From News Channel 12, ABC. Chavez claimed she was close to striking harasser who filmed her on Capitol steps. From Zachary Rogers. The Honorable and Venerable Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Chavez, D-Twitch, claims in a tweet that she was ready to deck the man who was filming himself catcalling and harassing her on the Capitol steps.
Very sexy. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
I'm so angry, okay? Look at me. I'm so angry. Take this selfie with me, okay, puppy? The man who filmed himself harassing AOC, Alex Stein, calls himself a professional troll and comedian, but that's not how many see him, apparently. I don't know, I thought it was funny. The New York Post calls him a right-wing instigator, and The Independent wrote that in this instance, he was acting like a deranged pervert when confronting Ocasio-Chavez. Stein, in the video he filmed, which was later posted and shared on Twitter, can be heard repeatedly sexually harassing occasionally Cortex, calling her sexy and remarking about her body. In the video, Chavez can be seen headed towards Stein after apparently hearing his words. An aide quickly grabs her arm to deter her. She stops, continuing to head up the stairs. Ocasio-Chavez still poses for a selfie with Stein, however flashing a peace sign with her fingers before moving on. In a now-deleted tweet, Chavez shared the photo of Stein, saying that he said a bunch of disgusting garbage to her that she did not hear. She also warned others to avoid him. She later explained why she deleted the tweet and then put the tweet back up. Stein responded to Ocasio-Chavez's tweets by saying, "If you really love me, you would at least tag me." Stein also thanked Ocasio-Chavez for making him trend on Twitter and joked when she blocked him on the platform. In an interview with The Magazine in Texas, Stein's father claims his son's toxic behavior really began to surface after he lost his mother to the pinko pox in 2021. So, yeah, she was totally going to go over and hit him.
Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
I want you to do a little selfie.
I love it. My favorite AOC. Nice to meet you, AOC. Look how...
Yeah, she was really going over there to hit him. But it's interesting that this came up. One of the important things to look at and watch while we're doing something like this is the sleight of hand, which I pointed out to you guys that Gavin Newsom is a sleight of hand. Gavin Newsom is put into place to keep you from paying attention to the Biden admin, thinking to yourself, oh, well, Gavin's going to come in and save the day. He is a sleight of hand. It'd be an uphill battle for him to win on a national platform, as badly as he's doing in California, which all he has to do is be the top Democrat candidate in California to maintain power there. That's one of the places where he can get away with outlefting the left, essentially. But the interesting aspect of that is that just a day before all this happened, this video came out, which I thought was more interesting than what's happening here. Chavez says, remember, puppy, how there was tons of footage and evidence of officers inside on the 1-6 supporting insurrectionists, okay, puppy? But then everyone decided it was too politically risky to investigate thoroughly, so they brushed it under the rug, and now we still have no idea who or what is safe, okay, puppy? We're going to watch this video, and I'm having allergy issues again, so I'm going to step up while we're listening to this. I've watched this video before, so let me run this video here, and I'll be right back with you guys.
These insurrectionists,
like Antifa,
and that there were actual officers working with this, and we never got to the bottom of that, and we never got any answers about that, and then to this day we're just supposed to pretend that that never happened.
What about Antifa?
I have no idea what happened to the people on the inside who were very clearly sympathetic with what was going on and opening the doors wide open for that. And I'm supposed to sit here and pretend like none of that ever happened, and then right afterwards you have a massive, you just have this idea that throwing money at that problem is going to make it go away without any accountability. And so this is where these things are breaking down. We're not safe. And it's not just about members of Congress not being safe. The food staff workers aren't safe. The janitors aren't safe. Like, we need to get to the bottom of this. So that's all I got to say.
What about Antifa?
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Let's get to the bottom of it. Antifa, please.
These insurrectionists,
like Antifa,
and that there were actual officers working with this, and we never got to the bottom of that, and we never got any answers about that, and then to this day we're just supposed to pretend that that never happened.
What about Antifa?
I have no idea what happened to the people on the inside who were very clearly sympathetic with what was going on and opening the doors wide open for that. And I'm supposed to sit here and pretend like none of that ever happened, and then right afterwards you have a massive, you just have this idea that throwing money at that problem is going to make it go away without any accountability. And so this is where these things are breaking down. We're not safe. And it's not just about members of Congress not being safe. The food staff workers aren't safe. The janitors aren't safe. Like, we need to get to the bottom of this. So that's all I got to say.
What about Antifa?
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Let's get to the bottom of it. Antifa.
So, there are a couple things that are going on with this that I don't care for, and a couple things that are. Now, my first thought is, yes, let's get an investigation into what happened on that day and why there were people who have not been held to account who were literally holding the doors open. And as it's been brought up by several other pundits that are going around now, they were holding this open from the inside. Like, they were walking from the inside, opening the door and holding it open. One guy got his charges completely dropped entirely because of the video of him shaking hands with the Capitol Police officer that was holding the door open for him and waving him in. It's really hard to come back and claim trespass when you're invited in by the authoritative source that's supposed to be on duty for all of this. Now, do I think that she is completely honest about what had happened here with this? No. She has been fed the line that it wasn't actually the Capitol Police, it was infiltrators from the president's team who came out here and opened the door for these people. I'm willing to bet that she probably thinks this is a spy movie somewhere, and a bunch of President Trump's people, who are both the stupidest people in the world and also criminal masterminds at the same time, knocked these Capitol Police officers unconscious, stuffed them in a closet somewhere, stole their uniforms, and held the door open and invited people in. That idea going through AOC's head, I don't think is out of the question. I think that's actually a possibility. But what I can say is that there are some absolute abnormalities of this. There are some absolute things that we should be questioning about this. Why don't we investigate the Capitol Police that were clearly in video holding the door open, especially, again, given the fact that there are people who literally had their charges dropped? Why is there one specific person in the world who wore a MAGA hat in video and encouraged people to go into the Capitol building, which I'm told, during a count, is the greatest crime that you can commit against a nation? Being defended by outlets who believe that wearing that particular hat, which was crisp and shiny and clean and brand new, is the greatest defense in the world, and automatically conveys guilt to everything else. Why is there one person who's being interviewed by the New York Times and not sitting in jail, while all the people that he encouraged to go into the Capitol are in jail? I am not saying that Ray Epps is a Fed. I am saying I have questions about that, and with what she's bringing up here, I have questions. Let's FOIA the Capitol. Oh, wait, no, we can't FOIA the Capitol Police. That's illegal. There is something that we need to get to the bottom of this. That is something Cortez and I can agree on. And we're in such a partisan environment in this world that because it came from her, we're not even supposed to think about it. We're supposed to just dismiss her. But like we dismissed the big booty Latina thing. So, yes, that is something I would like to see looked into at this point. All right, let's grab one from the Daily Wire. Twitter suspends a group that published Supreme Court justice addresses. Finally! From Mary Margaret Olahan. Twitter suspended Ruth Sent Us, a pro-abortion account that directs protesters to descend upon the homes of Supreme Court justices. The suspension comes after almost 2 months of aggressive and inflammatory tweets. The group posted a map on its website listing the street names where Amy Coney Barrett, John Roberts, Samuel Alito, Brett Kavanaugh, Clarence Thomas, and Neil Gorsuch live. Google removed the map in early May, saying that it found it to be in violation of our personal and confidential information policy. Twitter has not responded to a request for comment from the Daily Wire on why it waited so long to suspend the account, or what specific tweet was the final straw. Oh, we know why. We know why. On June 28th, authorities arrested 26-year-old Nicholas John Roski of California near Kavanaugh's home. He was indicted on June 15th on federal charges of attempting to murder a Supreme Court justice, the DOJ said in a press release. A DOJ affidavit shows how Roski allegedly traveled to Kavanaugh's home armed with weapons and burglary tools with the intent to kill the justice and prevent him from ruling on Second Amendment and abortion cases. It is not immediately clear whether Roski found the address through Ruth Sent Us. The group did not respond to the Daily Wire's request for comment at the time, but put out a statement saying they do not support violence. Well, what did you put the addresses out for? The same day that Roski was arrested, but before the arrest was reported, Ruth Sent Us called for demonstrations at both Barrett's home and Barrett's church in a post that specifically noted her family's daily routine and her children's school. If you're in the D.C. metro area, join us. Our protests at Barrett's home move the needle to this coverage, the group said on Twitter. Falls Church is a People of Praise stronghold. She sends her 7 kids to People of Praise school. that she sat on the board of directors for. She attends church daily. Ruth Sentas has also pushed for protesters to interrupt Catholic masses on Mother's Day, warning one critic in a May 7th tweet, "Stuff your rosaries and keep your weaponized prayer. We will remain outraged after this weekend, so keep praying. We will be burning the Eucharist to show our disgust for the abuse Catholic churches have condoned for centuries." TikTok, which did not respond to requests for comment, also briefly banned the group in May, but brought them back. So finally, after repeatedly violating the rules that most of the rest of us would be IP banned for, Ruth Sentas is gone. Off of Twitter, at least. What else do we have? Oh, speaking of the activist group, somebody asking Elizabeth Warren for comment on this. RNC Research reporter Hillary Vaughn, an activist group, is offering to pay people if they send in the locations of justices. Do you think that this has gone too far at this point? Elizabeth Warren slams her car door.
Senator, an activist group is offering to pay people if they send in the locations of justices. Do you think that this has gone too far at this point? Senator, an activist group is offering to pay people if they send in the locations of justices. Do you think that this has gone too far?
She's running. She's running. Look at her go.
Senator, an activist group.
And the worst part is, like, she looked like she was there, interested, ready to go back and take this question. I want to see the point where this turned.
Senator, an activist group is offering to pay people if they send in the locations of justice.
I think it was activist group as offered to pay people is where she started to turn and run.
Senator, an activist group is offering to pay people if they send in the locations of justices. Do you think that this has gone too far at this point? Senator, an activist group.
Yeah, no, she doesn't want to talk about that. Kate Ballow said she had to go, her depends were leaking. Brian Fiore said she's probably funding it. From The Hill. This is an opinion piece for The Hill. The views expressed within are the views of Brent Butowski, the opinion contributor, not necessarily the views of The Hill. The views in this are also the views of Brent Butowski and do not necessarily represent the views of Turn Some Pages Productions, Contemporary, or your host, J. Edgar. Let's read. First and foremost, I applaud Senator Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins for proposing legislation to restore Roe v. Wade by statute, which is what you should have done 50 years ago, if it was that important to you. And respectfully urge them to oppose any filibuster against the legislation which would place them in history as critical to saving Roe. For reasons related to Roe v. Wade and other matters, the Supreme Court is now on trial before the legal community, the nation, the High Court of History, and American voters. Is the High Court of History, is that like the court of social media? The legal community and the nation need to have a serious and informed discussion about the proper role of the Supreme Court, its lack of strong ethics code, the integrity of the confirmation process, the strong disrespect certain justices have towards legal precedent, how they address their views of precedent during their confirmation, and whether there's a danger that 5 justices appear to be acting like a factional political party. You know, like it's been for 50 years. Casting party line votes, functioning like a super legislature more than judges. Like it's been doing for 50 years. Whether they collaborate or not, there is substantive mutual reinforcement between conservative justices, partisan Republican politicians in presidential politics, and members of Congress who have not been beyond fixing a Supreme Court nomination, as well as aggressive synergies between ideological views and legal theory and political tactics. I would suggest that significantly increased public awareness of the issues mentioned above is directly related to significantly increased public disapproval of the Supreme Court as measured in respected polls. Respected polls! We have disapproval of the Supreme Court! They stopped ruling the way that we wanted them to! Ugh. Disgusting. When a Supreme Court majority rules that regulatory agencies such as the EPA cannot issue regulations that were not explicitly enacted in legislation, surely the justices know that in the current climate, almost nothing could be enacted into law. Then it can't be that important because you can't go back and sell it to your constituents. If you're trying to ram an agenda down somebody else's throat, that's unpopular with the people, then maybe it shouldn't be jammed down somebody's throat. Are they planning an outright attack on the concept of regulation by independent and knowledgeable agencies? No, they want the agencies to regulate, not legislate. Should these justices be such power players on climate change policies? When does the court treat the matter of choice aggressively as a political issue that should be solved by politicians at the state level, while it seeks to eliminate the state's authority to protect children from adults and from mass murder with military weapons? Everything in that paragraph was wrong. Why shouldn't America be worried that the same logic and legal aggression that led to Roe's reversal could be applied based on public views of some justices against same-sex marriage and contraception? And why has the Supreme Court done so much damage to the Voting Rights Act in recent years, and so often upheld Republican obstruction of voting rights and partisan gerrymandering? Do we need to get the Illinois map back out again? No, seriously, do we need to get that map back out again and show you what partisan gerrymandering looks like? Look, here's the deal. And here's why this should be important to you. Right now, any regulation that gets passed has to be popular with the American people and the donor class. It didn't have to be popular with the donor class before. The EPA just came down and slammed it down and kneecapped the smaller businesses that have to work within the confines of the EPA, while the billionaire companies, the donor class, continues to put in carbon tax credits and pay their indulgences for climate change. Now, you have people who are both beholden to the American people, including the wild leftoids, who look at the carbon tax credits and call them a joke. They're now beholden to those people as well as their donors. If they favor towards their donor class, their wild climate change leftoids will just look at this and say, okay, well, we don't have to vote for you anymore because we don't like you. Or if they appease and lay down the hammer on the climate change agenda, their donor class flies away. What's interesting about this, and we're not talking about the Roe side of things because there are obvious reasons that they're trying to obfuscate off of that. But the interesting part of this that really got to me was that there was a criticism of the Supreme Court acting like a super legislature, which it's done for 50 years prior to this, while advocating for the EPA to act like a super legislature. And they don't see this. From the Blaze, a group of Democrats wants to strip the Supreme Court of appellate jurisdiction over a pro-choice bill and more. From Alex Nitzberg. A group of House Democrats joined together in a letter urging Nancy Pelosi and Chuck U. Schumer to support an effort to block the Supreme Court from scrutinizing the constitutionality of the Women's Health Protection Act, a piece of pro-choice legislation. They want to block the High Court from scrutinizing their plans on other issues as well. Boy, you don't understand separation of powers at all, do you? No, you don't. It's, we didn't get our way, let's go and change the rules. We write to urge you to your support for restricting the Supreme Court's appellate jurisdiction in areas of both abortion, marriage equality, non-procreative intimacy, and contraception, the Liberal lawmakers wrote. In doing so, we can ensure that, as Congress takes legislative action to codify each of these fundamental rights, a radical, restless, and newly constituted majority on the Court cannot further undermine the protections we would enact. Leftists have been up in arms about the Supreme Court's decision issued last month that enabled states to ban abortions. Liberals were also disturbed by Clarence Thomas's concurrence, in which he suggested the High Court should eventually strike down other decisions, including the Obergefell versus Hodges gay marriage ruling. Once again, if it's that important to you, you should be legislating it now. Thomas wrote that in future cases, we should reconsider all of this court's substantive due process precedents, including Griswold, Lawrence, and Obergefell. He also wrote that after overruling these demonstrably erroneous decisions, the question would remain whether other constitutional provisions guaranteed the myriad rights that our substantive due process cases have generated. In their letter, the left-wing lawmakers claim that Congress can restrict the Supreme Court's appellate jurisdiction over legislation. I want to talk about a couple of these here, realistically. I would wonder and seriously consider what kind of case could get before the Supreme Court at this point for Obergefell, and what's the one for contraception? Griswold, I believe. What kind of case could get before the court for this? Now, Dobbs, I've envisioned a few cases, and I don't know the actual case that brought Dobbs before, but there are a few different ways that can be done. And part of that, I believe, was the fact that Mississippi themselves put the 6-week ban into place, which goes supposedly before viability. But there's also the case, like on an individual level, where a man could be in the situation where he has a night of fun with a girl that he kind of cares about, doesn't really know, but kind of cares about, finds out after the fact that she's not on the pill, as she assured him during the crux of it that she was on the pill, finds out that she's not after the fact, freaks out a little bit, then she goes back and has the abortion behind his back. He would be damaged there. He would have lost his child at that point. And that's a case where somebody's directly affected by some of this. I have a hard time understanding where somebody is directly affected by somebody else's gay marriage and how that case could get to the Supreme Court. Do I believe that it's possible for it to get there? Yes, I do. Can I envision the scenario in which it gets there? No, I cannot. But I do believe it's possible. I think it's harder for some of these cases to get in front of the court. But that doesn't change the fact that once you're not getting your way, you can't go back out and change the rules. Speaking of abortion, let's talk about this one here. Dangerous Spaces tweets out, "This whole story just seems to get more and more insane." Quote tweeting Jorge Bonilla, who offers up this video, watch the mother of the Ohio 10-year-old rape victim tells Telemundo's Maria Vargas Pian that the child is fine and that everything they say about Gershon Flores is a lie. Well, let's listen. And I might have to translate this because, well, they've got the subtitles on the screen, but there's the audio aspect of it as well.
La niña vivía aquí también.
Did the girl live here as well?
Sí, pero ella está bien, todo lo que
Yes, she's fine. Everything that they're saying against him is a lie.
Ya. Y la
Okay.
niña
And the child, are you related to her or her mother? The woman who refused to provide her name, who concealed her face, states that she has not filed charges against 27-year-old Gerson Fuentes, who is charged with rape. Per the authorities, he confessed to having vaginal contact on at least 2 occasions with a girl who recently turned 10. Therefore, it's estimated that she may have been 9 years old when she was raped and then became pregnant. So again, I've always got the question of how is it that a 9-year-old can get pregnant without menstrual capabilities? Don't really want to go too far into that, but it does get more and more bizarre as we go further and further into this, as we dig down deeper and deeper into all this. Now the mother knows about this, she knows about the dude, and she's not pressing charges. Somebody else had to go off and press the charges. The Indiana doctor might wind up getting prosecuted for this, for failing to disclose this. Nobody disclosed the fact that there was a pregnancy of a 10-year-old who cannot consent to the authorities. And the mother is saying that everything they say about Flores is a lie. Again, I ask the question, did this even happen? Oh, he confessed. Did he? Did he get a plea deal to stay in the country? Or just get deported if he came out and confessed and pled guilty to it? Why is the mother not concerned about this? I have a lot of questions. From the Daily Wire. Mother of 10-year-old rape victim gives bizarre interview, says daughter is fine, media telling lies about alleged rapist. From Amanda Prestigiacomo. The mother of a 10-year-old rape victim on Telemundo on Thursday said that her daughter is fine, suggesting the media are lying about her daughter's alleged rapist, 27-year-old Gerson Fuentes. Fuentes was arrested and charged with first-degree rape on Tuesday after allegedly confessing to raping the Ohio minor, who reportedly became pregnant and obtained an abortion out of state. Everything they're saying against him is a lie, the woman claiming to be the victim's mother said, according to translating from reporting from Telemundo. The reporter was at the home of Fuentes when the victim's mother answered the door. She did not give her name, nor did she want to be on camera. The mother added her 10-year-old daughter is fine, said Jorge Bonilla, who serves as Media Research Center's director of MRC Latino. The relationship between Fuentes, the victim, and the girl's mother remains unclear. Bonilla speculated that the alleged rapist could be connected to the mother and noted that fear of deportation could be a factor contributing to the bizarre interview. This portion of our broader interview sheds significant light on the familial dynamics of the case and further vindicates all skepticism over how the story broke and was handled, he said. We don't even get to this point without the critical work of PJ Media's Megan Fox and so many others. This appears to confirm my thesis of domestic situation wherein the confessed rapist is also the paramour of the victim's mother. Other familial retaliation is possible, but less likely. Bonilla said, unfortunately I saw many cases while working as a court interpreter. The mother's distressed defense of the rapist suggested that she is also here illegally and fears deportation. Bonilla outlined, the defendant is likely the family's sole source of income, and there's a likelihood of other children in the home. Mom is exposed to the removal of the children under dependency proceedings. Failure to protect. Has there been such a filing yet? If not, why not? Yeah, this raises a lot of new questions. Mother doesn't speak English. Protecting the rapist of her 10-year-old daughter. Probably again has no income, like he said. But This is getting crazier and crazier. We'll continue to watch. From the Blaze, Indiana AG vows investigation into doctor who gave 10-year-old girl abortion. We're going to fight this to the end. From Chris Enlow. The physician at the center of a national story about a 10-year-old rape victim could be the target of an investigation herself, Indiana AG Todd Rakoita disclosed on Wednesday. Dr. Caitlin Bernard, an Indianapolis OB-GYN and abortion advocate, told multiple news outlets that she provided care to the 10-year-old girl from Ohio after being contacted by the child abuse doctor in the Buckeye State last month. According to Bernard, the child was pregnant 6 weeks and 3 days, but could not receive an abortion in Ohio after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, which apparently is not true. The story raised significant red flags because, despite being repeated by national news outlets and even President Biden, no one had independently corroborated the story. Even Ohio AG Dave Yost said this week that the office had heard not a whisper anywhere about the victim or the perpetrator. The tragic story was ultimately confirmed after police arrested 27-year-old Gershon Fuentes, an immigrant in the U.S. illegally, for a heinous crime on Tuesday. Speaking with Fox News host Jesse Waters, Rakita said his office will investigate Bernard because she purportedly failed to disclose the case to law enforcement. Indiana's mandatory reporting law requires any person who suspects child abuse to report the incident to law enforcement. We have this abortion activist acting as a doctor with history of failing to report, Rakita said. So we're gathering the evidence as we speak, and we're going to fight this till the end, including looking at Bernard's licensure, as she failed to report. In Indiana, it's a crime to intentionally not report. So, and I do look down this at two different angles, and both of them are equally heinous. Number one, we're going to take this at face value. We're going to take this exactly how the media has presented this to us. A 10-year-old girl gets raped and gets pregnant by mommy's deportable boyfriend. Leaves the state to get an abortion. Could have done so in the 6 weeks prior, but leaves the state to go get an abortion out of state. With a woman who happens to be a staunch abortion activist who has a connection with a doctor in the Buckeye State to recommend it out to her. First off, was there a large cash payment? Did they have to go back and work up a bunch of money to go pay cash for this to keep it quiet? And number two, did they go out of state because they were going to be living under the AG of Ohio and couldn't find a doctor who wouldn't report to them because mommy is also deportable? That's scenario number one, which is absolutely heinous. And the woman does an abortion on a 10-year-old and keeps it all quiet and doesn't report to the authorities, violating Indiana's mandatory reporting law to keep family from getting deported. Situation two. This didn't happen at all. DNA evidence is from a completely different case. And person who is known to immigration authorities gets approached by someone saying, "Do I have a deal for you? We will deport you and we'll get you a new name that you can come back over and live under. But you have to, under your old name, cop to a crime that you didn't commit, so that we can come back out and hammer down on conservatives and say that we need to have abortion up to the moment of birth no matter what, because otherwise a 10-year-old might have to carry your child to term. Don't worry, we'll get you back here with your family. Don't worry, it'll take like 3 weeks, and we'll make sure your family's taken care of while this is done. Tell your girlfriend not to talk to anybody in the media." Those are the two scenarios I'm seeing off of this. And both of them are equally heinous. And I don't want either one of them to be true. From CNBC, we're running out of time here too, by the way. Texas sues to block Biden from requiring doctors to provide abortions in medical emergencies. From Spencer Kimball. Texas on Thursday asked the federal court to block the Biden admin's requirements that physicians and hospitals provide abortions in medical emergencies. A.G. Paxton, in a lawsuit filed at the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas, argued that federal law does not confer a right to abortion. The lawsuit comes 3 days after Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra warned hospitals and physicians that they're required to provide abortions in medical emergencies where it's necessary treatment to protect the life of the pregnant woman. Becerra says hospitals and physicians who refuse to comply could have their Medicare provider agreements terminated and face financial penalties. Becerra says the Emergency Medical Treatment Act and Active Labor Act preempts state laws that restrict abortions and access to emergency situations, but Paxton said the law does not mandate any specific treatment, arguing the HHS requirement is unlawful, unconstitutional, and unenforceable. Abortion became illegal in Texas under a law from 1925 after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade last month, which protected access to the procedure as a constitutional right for nearly 50 years. The ban is enforced right now through fines and lawsuits. Texas has another law passed in 2021 that will go into effect in the coming weeks, which makes performing an abortion a felony, punishable by up to life in prison. The ban makes an exception if the licensed physician determines that the woman faces a life-threatening physical condition. Which is what HHS is doing. I don't understand why the suit is going. Let's see. President Biden issued an executive order last week directing HHS to take action to protect access to abortion. Moloch cries out for the babies. Becerra's warning that physicians and hospitals are required to provide abortions in medical emergencies is the most concrete step the admin has taken so far to protect access to the procedure. At least 9 states have banned abortion in the wake of the Supreme Court's ruling. Several other states have tried to ban the procedure, but their laws have been blocked by state courts. Although most of the state abortion bans make exceptions for when the woman's life is in danger, U.S. health officials worried that wary doctors could wait too long to treat ectopic pregnancies and complications from miscarriages while awaiting legal guidance. A miscarriage and an ectopic is not a viable pregnancy. And if doctors are waiting too long, as they say, then they're doing so for political reasons, because they want to stack bodies. Because let's face it, an abortion provider is not ashamed of killing a person. They want to stack bodies in the streets so they can come out and say, "See, women are dying!" And this is absolutely disgusting. If a child has deceased, a pregnancy is not viable. And yes, the life of the mother would be at risk for this. An ectopic pregnancy is not viable. You shouldn't need legal guidance to know either of those things. It's technically an abortion. No. It's a death sentence for both people involved. And again, as I said, leave it to an abortion doctor to not care about killing somebody else. I don't know why Texas is suing, and I don't know why Becerra is trying to push the issue, except for to get people to come in and say, evil right-wing states just want to kill women. This is disgusting and political. And I hate it. I really hate it. We have come to the segment of people passing bills that are largely symbolic. From the Hill, GOP Senator blocks bill to protect interstate travel for abortion. From Peter Sullivan. James Lankford on Thursday blocked a Democratic request to unanimously pass a bill seeking to protect interstate travel for abortion. That's a symbolic bill because, well, states can't actually do that. States actually cannot, and I know that some of my more right-wing friends want this to be the case, where if you travel to California to get an abortion, then as soon as you get back to Texas, you're put in cuffs, carried off to the gulag, and never seen again. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Nor can it be under our Constitution, which protects freedom of motion between the states. Any protection how do I word this? From prosecution in your state for doing something illegal under somebody else's jurisdiction. And I used the weed question for this. Now, if I go down to Colorado, hell, I don't even have to go that far. If I go down to Illinois one night and smoke a whole bunch of grass, like a ridiculous amount of grass like you wouldn't seen, like you've never seen, and I get stoned out of my mind on a bender for 8 days straight, and I come back and I get popped for a drug test at work, there are a couple things that are going to happen. Number one, I'm going to lose my job because that's company policy. That's not a state law. Number two, I'm going to lose my CDL. Because that's a national law, not a state law. But I will not face any repercussions for possession and consumption. Well, it would just be possession. Because there actually is no crime against consumption. I would not face any penalties for possession because I possessed in Illinois, where it's legal. If I'm driving down south one day, let's say in Georgia, this is a bit more extreme of a case. And as soon as I'm in Georgia, I put on my jacket, or just my t-shirt because it's Georgia and I never need a jacket when I'm down there, no matter how cold it is by their standards. I put on my jacket, I take my handgun, and I put it in the inside pocket. This is all moot because I actually have the CCW permit in Wisconsin. But say in their hypothetical that I don't have a CCW permit in Wisconsin. Wisconsin cannot find me once I get back to Wisconsin for putting a pistol in my jacket in Georgia. Under the Constitution, if it is legal in the state you're going to, Illinois, Minnesota, California, New York, etc., your home state, no matter how much they try to stretch the issue, cannot prosecute you for having an abortion out of state lines. It is against the Constitution. And if you want to bring Roe versus Wade back, which, by the way, it's a possibility, that's going to be the fastest way to do so. So don't play yourselves, states, by doing this. Do not play yourselves by doing this, because we will have this back enshrined in the law, even with the conservative justice system, because it is unconstitutional for you to prosecute somebody who goes and performs an act that's illegal in your state in another state where it is legal. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada, joined by a string of Democratic senators, had sought consent to pass a bill that would prevent states from punishing women who travel to other states where abortion is legal to get the procedure. The Constitution already does that. The measure would also protect healthcare providers who provide abortions to out-of-state patients. The Constitution already does that. Does that child in the womb have the right to travel in the future? Langford said in objecting. Do they get to live? There's a child in this conversation as well, he added. With a full-scale legislation to codify Roe v. Wade lacking the votes to pass the upper chamber, Democrats have looked to other legislative responses after the Supreme Court struck down the nearly 50-year decision that established a constitutional right to abortion. A series of Democratic senators had spoken in favor of the measure before the request on Thursday. Cortez Masto said the bill was needed to protect abortion providers even in states where abortion remains legal, saying that she has heard of some who are worried about being sued if they provide abortions for out-of-state patients. Senator Patty Murray pointed to reports that conservative groups are right now drafting legislation to ban travel for abortion. You can't do that. That's against the Constitution. As pro-life as I am, I wish they could do that, but you can't do that. Well, Democrats said the right to travel for abortion is constitutionally protected as well. They sought to provide additional protection in law. Anyone telling you this is not a threat is not paying attention, Murray said. Oh, I know it's a threat. I just know that it won't last. That will make one case before the Supreme Court. Hell, a federal court will strike that down. Hey, look who's behind this. Senator Bennett of Colorado said if the people from other states need to come to Colorado to access the care they need, Congress has the obligation to shield them from prosecution. No, the Constitution already did that. Republicans, I'm telling you, don't play yourselves this way. I appreciate the effort to protect the babies, but do not play yourselves this way. All right. It is 9/11. What do we have yet? Let's do some of this other congressional stuff and then we'll do live chat here. So if you guys are just lurking right now, which I see more numbers than names, get some of those last minute comments in, because once we get through these last 3 articles here, we're going to go look in and check in with the live chat, see what you guys are saying today and what it is that you guys have said over the past week as well. I do pay attention to what you guys say, even though I don't address it live as we're going. I have the names of everybody who chatted in the live chat throughout the week here, and we'll be reading that with a special thank you and looking at some of the things that you guys had to say today, which it looks like there'll be a good conversation. All right, from NBC, speaking of symbolic bills, House passes bipartisan bill to create active shooter alert system. From Rebecca Shabbat, the House passed legislation Wednesday that would create an Amber Alert-like system for active shooter situations. In a 260 to 169 vote, lawmakers approved the Active Shooter Alert Act, which was sponsored by David Cicilline of Rhode Island and Fred Upton of Michigan. The bill now heads to the Senate. Excuse me. Nearly all votes in opposition were Republicans, with the exception of Democrat Rep. Ron Kind of Wisconsin, who's not running for re-election. 43 Republicans voted in favor of the measure. Reminder, Ron Kind is not running for re-election because they found out that he was running a brothel outside of one of his massage parlors. The measure would allow law enforcement to deploy the alert system in emergency situations and notify the public about active shooters. Cicilline and Upton said they could be used in situations like what unfolded after the mass shooting in Highland Park on the 4th of July, when the suspected gunman was at large for 8 hours and was able to drive to Wisconsin, but not to Madison like they claimed. Another situation when the alert system could have been used was in April, when a suspect was at large for 29 hours after allegedly shooting people at a subway station in Brooklyn. Here's a question. Why do we need this when we have Twitter and CNN? The most obvious question is why can't this get done at a state level, like the Amber Alert system was done for a long time, like weather services are done for a long time. Well, that is nationalized, I understand, for the weather service. But why does this have to be a national top-down thing? And I know the answer to why they're doing this, how they're doing this, and whatnot. Somebody close to Cicilline, and probably Upton too, somebody who donates to both of these candidates, has come up with an idea for a system to implement for active shooters, an alert system for active shooters, and is looking for a no-bid government contract at the federal level to embezzle millions of dollars from, is why we're doing this. I don't agree with this. I think this should be a local thing. I also think that somebody needs to come back and start broadcasting the Rock County police scanner again, because that's currently not being broadcast, and after the fire that we saw yesterday, I have no idea what happened with it or where it was, but there was some pretty black smoke coming out of that. Yeah, I know why they're doing this. Somebody is out to make a great big payday off the taxpayer dollar. Our friend Dash, by the way. Regular target of ridicule from the show, Dash Dabrowski. Now, we're going to do the... Is there a video with this? Let me see if there's one for this. This moron. Nope, he didn't make a video about this one. I thought we were going to hear, I am angry! Why hasn't nobody been arrested yet for crimes they didn't commit? From Newsweek, House Republicans all vote against neo-Nazi probe of military and police. From Ewan Palmer. The House has approved an amendment for the National Defense Authorization Act to compel government officials to prepare a report on combating white supremacist and neo-Nazi activity in the police and military, despite every Republican voting against the measure. The amendment, sponsored by Rep. Brad Schneider, was passed in a 218 to 208 party line vote on Wednesday. All 208 votes against the amendment came from the House Republicans, one of whom described it as Orwellian. Oh, it is. This is an incredibly Orwellian bill. I want to know where this guy's from. Rep. Brad. United States Representative from Illinois 10. How did I know this was going to be somebody from a super blue state? Where's Illinois 10? I bet you it's in Chicago. Oh, look at that. It's exactly where the shooting came from. It's where Highland Park is. Would you look at that? So the representative for Highland Park has decided now we have to have a neo-Nazi bill. And oh my God, every Republican voted against it. The Schneider Amendment called for the FBI, the DHS, and the Secretary of Defense to publish a report that sets out ways to combat white supremacist and neo-Nazi activity in the uniformed services and law enforcement agencies not later than 180 days after enactment and every 6 months thereafter. The amendment called for the total number of people who were discharged from the military or police because of their links to or support to far-right extremism to be published. The amendment also states that the government is being asked to write should detail how agency leaders responded to planned or effectuated incidents connected to white supremacist or neo-Nazi activity, according to a report in The Hill. We just voted to combat neo-Nazis in our military, and every single Republican voted no, tweeted New Jersey Democrat Bill Pascrell after the amendment was passed. Speaking on the House floor, Schneider noted how the U.S. has seen a surge in domestic extremist incidents, such as the 2017 neo-Nazi Unite the Right rally, which was put on by the FBI, by the way, in Charlottesville, and the mass shooting in the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh in 2018. He also highlighted a report published in May from Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency entitled The Insider Threat and Extremist Activity Within the DoD, which detailed examples of military personnel found to have held extremist views. Here's the problem that I have with this. Who decides? Now, you have the obvious groups out there that say, we are proud neo-Nazis. We are proud white supremacists. Gripers. We are proudly skinheads. We have those organizations out there that exist. Are those going to be the only ones that are targeted? Or does this extend now to Oath Keepers and Proud Boys, neither of which are neo-Nazi or white supremacist? Does this extend to anybody who voted for a president they don't like? You know, I hear them say constantly, oh, those people are all Nazis anyway. Oh, you disagree with universal health care for all? You must be a neo-Nazi. Who makes the decision on what this is? That's part of the big problem that I have with this. Is it going to be an actual person who says, I am a neo-Nazi? Would that person actually be in the police or the military? Or is it going to be, hey, I saw that you posted a pro-Trump meme on Facebook. Guess what? You can't be a police officer anymore because you're a neo-Nazi. This is Orwellian. This is panic-inducing, honestly. And I hope this gets shut down. Alright, and the last one we'll do today, then we got to do live chat and head out of here for the day, because, well, I got to go to work. Go to work a whole bunch, and buy that brand new microphone. By the way, for those of you who weren't here on the top of the show, there's a new microphone coming, because I think this one is starting to get a little bit on the worn out side. And why shouldn't it? Because it gets used constantly, and it gets, like, it picks up actual sound, somebody talking into it, for 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, plus whatever we do when we do a video game stream. So she's been good. She's worked well. I recommend this brand again. If you're just starting out and wanting to experiment with this and don't want to plop down a bunch of money to come out and say, absolutely, I want to do this, or no, if you just want to experiment with it, I recommend getting the newer brand. For $20, you can get a few months out of the thing and realize, hey, I like this, or hey, no, I don't really care for this that much. It's not a long-term solution, but again, if you're just experimenting and deciding if you want to get into the streaming service, or Zoom calls or something else like that, that would be the way that I would go with it. From Changing America, off the Hill. Half of Americans support canceling $10,000 in student debt per borrower, according to poll. Well, half of Americans also believe that government money comes out of nowhere. By the way, I do agree with this. Most Americans surveyed believe that student debt, which has eclipsed $1.7 trillion, is a serious problem. It is. And it's going to be giving us problems here in the very near future. But just inflating the currency enough and getting rid of probably close to $1 trillion of it right off the top is not the answer. Half of Americans support forgiving $10,000 of student loan debt per borrower, an idea floated earlier this summer by the Biden admin, according to a new survey. An Economist YouGov survey published Wednesday found that 51% favor the proposal, while 39% said they strongly oppose it. Most Americans surveyed believe the student debt, which has eclipsed $1.7 trillion, is a serious problem. More than 61% of Americans who said the student loan debt is a serious problem have never had a student loan, period. Meanwhile, the loan debt varies widely between generations. More millennials carry student debt than any other generation, because the government started subsidizing the schools, and the schools could charge whatever they wanted because people would just go out and get the loans. See, you get rid of the FAFSA, and you're going to see those school prices come down real quick. You might be able to pay for all your college with a summer job again. Because if they don't have butts in seats, they don't make money. More millennials carry student debt than any other generation, with an average balance of $38,877 per borrower. Baby boomers hold an average of $40,512 per borrower. Gen X, which describes Americans born between 65 and 80, hold the largest average amount of debt per borrower, which typical balances sitting at $45,095. Progressive lawmakers are pushing the president to cancel up to $50,000 of student debt per borrower. President Biden said on the campaign trail he would consider canceling at least $10,000 per borrower, but he indicated in April he's not considering $50,000. Yet the admin has taken several steps to reform the student loan system outside of widespread forgiveness, including revamping of the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. The Education Department announced in a separate series of overhauls last week, with one addressing the way loan interest capitalizes. Interest capitalization is a student loan mechanism that occurs when a loan, while in grace period, such as deferment or income-driven repayment plan, continues to accrue interest that's then added to the principal balance. This results in the loan's interest rate being applied to an ever-growing principal balance, something the department wants to change. It's compound interest, and literally everything else that you buy has it. Your car has it. Your house has it. Literally everything else that you buy has compounded interest. The resultant loan's interest rate being applied to an ever-growing principal balance, something the department wants to change. The department proposed a new rule that would eliminate capitalization when a borrower enters repayment, exits forbearance, defaults on a student loan, or exits most income-driven repayment plans, saying it will help borrowers who struggle to repay their loans. But the proposed rule states that there will be instances in which interest capitalization can occur as required with the Higher Education Act, mostly because it'll mostly come with students who vote Republican. I do believe that we need to have a conversation about student loans before the housing market completely pops and the two generations before us lose everything, lose their market power, and brings us into a complete economic shutdown. But forgiveness is not the answer. In fact, that would probably push things to go even worse. You think 9.1% inflation is bad? Go figure out what happens with this. I repeat myself, forgiveness is not the answer. And I've been in the same place as the Biden admin has been on this particular instance. One of the better places to look for this is to go and look at the interest rates and the interest that we have and the compounded interest, and figuring out a way to stanch the bleeding on that. If you took the loan, you have to repay it, the principal of it. Let's have a conversation about the interest. Let's go and figure out how this is before we collapse the economy. But that principal will get paid no matter what. That's the way we need to do when we look at this. But That's not going to be enough for the progressives who just want everything to be out and free, and think that the money that comes from the government is all free, and thinks that they're not going to get taxed as income if it goes and gets forgiven. Alright. With that, we are out of time. It is 9:30. Let's go through the live chat for the day and for the week. So let's come up to the top and see how much we've already missed from the top. We haven't missed anything yet, actually. Ron Helton was the first chat in here, and he's still up there. Ron Helton says, good morning, J. Edgar and fellow Ed Heads. Quest Fanning is here. Good morning, Ed Heads. Good morning, Audio Jack and Ron. I guess I didn't see Audio Jack in here before, but welcome. And new viewers as well, by the way. I do pay attention to the live chat on Fridays at the end, so if you are just lurking, get yourself in. I know that we had that glowing review from Arvolt this morning. I'm going to actually, while we're doing live chat, I'm going to put that up on the screen. Because I was so proud of that. I was happy with the way that this came out. Review here, Arvolt says, pundit may not be the right term, but at Edsblog Twitter, with a one in place of the I, brings the news to us without the garbage mainstream media getting in the way. Finance, breaking news, and politics with some pointed commentary on why we should or shouldn't care. It's where I get my news every day. And it's where the rest of you should get your news every day as well. In fact, bring some of your friends in as well. We're at 12 live viewers right now, so... Seven of you on Twitch, too, by the way. That's incredible. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, because that's a platform I'm making money on. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. On Monday, we had Quest Fanning, Spartan 0000 Superior 1, Horatius, a set of a Cantus Bear, Harvey McLeod, job for 9, No to Bud, Arvolt, and Ron Helton. On Tuesday, we had Quest Fanning, 80s Kid, Arvolt 24, A Gains P, who gave out some more community gift subs, so thank you for that. Set of a Cantus, Bear, KTZed, Life to the Max, and Randy Crush Saga, and Chilaga 1984. On Wednesday, we had Quest Fanning, Arvolt, Set of a Cantus Bear, Randy Crush Saga, Ron Helton, A Gains P again, Chilaga 1984, and Z-Pack 05. Isn't Z-Pack the Pinko Pox medicine? Isn't that what you do where you get the zinc and you get a bunch of other vitamins to go along with your medicine that's totally not hydroxychloroquine? Can we even say that on YouTube still? Wednesday gave us Quest Fanning, Arvolt, Set of a Cantus Bear, Randy Crush Saga, Ron Helton, No, we read Wednesday already, because I saw Z-Pack there and I commented on the Z-Pack. Yesterday we had Ron Helton, KTZed, Job for 9, Quest Fanning, Randy Crush Saga, Audio Jack. I've seen that guy in here before, so that's not a new name, but it's one I haven't seen for a while, so welcome back. MK Ultra Mega. I know he's changed it back to MK Ultra 333, but MK Ultra Mega, Arvolt, A Gains P, and Horatius. Today. Let's see. Randy Crush Saga's here. Ron Helton is here. Stop the Drug War. A Gains P is here with the globe. If you're on Twitch, throw that globe up. Another reason to stay in rural South Alabama. Yeah, $5,000 rent in Manhattan for an average. Again, that's the average. That means half the rents are higher than that. It's like George Carlin used to say, think about how stupid the average person is and then realize that 50% of them are stupider than that. Harvey McLeod is here. Harvey McLeod took a Plan B once. I later found out from my doc I wasn't pregnant anyway, but it totally wrecked my cycle. Ron Helton says, hell, domestic and foreign is all in chaos. Saying he's not running would be a positive thing. I don't know, because I think that we would look at our enemies across the pond who say that they are laughing at us, they can do whatever they want, and now that we're not, like, we don't have leadership, now they can really do whatever they want. Arbolt is here and lurking. Jupak Shalom, good morning, Edheads. Welcome. Primetime 99, Alex Stein. Quest Fading says a tamale, not a taco. We could go for a tamale right about now. I want to learn how to make those. I want to learn how to do Asian cooking and Hispanic cooking. Real Hispanic cooking. I want a tamale. And I don't want to be beholden to the vendor. Horatius, with a crown for Alex. Quest Vending says harass is 2 words. Correct wing instigator. Randy says she can't block him. That's illegal now. Well, no, he would have to live in her district for that to be illegal. Which I don't believe he does. I believe he lives in Texas. Quest says she's way out of practice on those barroom brawls. Life to the Max is here and says AOC'd. Horatius says AOC claims all the Republicans want to rape her, and they're all misogynistic sexual harassers, so why does she act surprised when someone does that? Because she doesn't really believe it and knows it isn't true. Life to the Max says Chavez. Did I miss something here? I just got here. Used common Cuban socialistic name or communistic names for her sometimes. Randy says, she says they opened the doors for them, but the committee says they broke in. Well, that's because the committee is watching MSNBC say, see, there's a little bit of broken glass here. That means that they busted in. They stormed the place. Yeah, Horatius says the same thing. She's such an idiot. That she goes against her cult's narrative for January 6th and doesn't seem to realize it. I don't care. I want them to go back and investigate it. I don't care how they get there. Horatius says Republicans are pretty much useless and did nothing about finding out the truth. And says the ginger whitey be colonizing that booty, yo. Gaines says savage in the street, colonized in the sheets. Ron says, why is Warren not in jail? Horatius says, wouldn't be surprised if leftist radicals assassinate a couple Supreme Court justices so Biden can appoint 2 more. By 24, the media and the government will support it and celebrate it. By Horatius, would that be like... Why can't I think of his name? Scalia. Would that be like Scalia? Gaines says she almost left a silhouette of smoke like a roadrunner. She left so fast. Randy says sounds like the system was meant to have widespread popularity in order for laws to be passed. Horatius says Voting Rights Act crap is just anti-white bullshit. They put into law the disenfranchisement of white voters. Randy says, the irony of petitioning to block the Supreme Court's interpretation of the Constitution while not understanding that Roe was based off interpreting the Constitution. What's also crazy is there are no requirements for that doctor to report the abortion. It's because it's the abuse of a minor that she was required to report it. Well, right, if you're an adult, you can do whatever you want. If a 10-year-old has gone through puberty, it's time for the discussion about hormones in our food again. Arbold says it's unfortunate, but there have been pregnancies at younger in other countries without hormones in their food. Not defending the hormones in the food, shouldn't be there. Correct. Nothing requires abortion. You get the baby out to save the mother, but killing it is not remotely necessary. It depends on the where in the pregnancy. That's why we see so many talks about 6-week and 12-week bans. But yes, as we talk about later and later terms, yes, we get the C-section and the baby can survive viably, possibly in an incubator, but we can get it out of there and get it raised up, and some lucky couple is going to get through the system and get an infant adoption. Arvold says, Randy, there are medical cases which require abortion, but those are very, very rare. They are. I just hate that a 0.0001% case is being used for abortion on demand. Yes, that's exactly it. Randy says, name one case that requires you to kill the baby rather than just take it out and see where it goes from there. I'm not saying there can't be one, but it's more of a semantics argument. Miscarriage and ectopic. Those are two. Bacterial sepsis. The baby won't survive before 19 weeks, so you can't successfully deliver it. Yeah, it's a matter of timing. It's not necessarily a matter of malice. Before weed was legal anywhere, you actually were not legally allowed to smoke weed in Amsterdam as a U.S. citizen. I did not know that. Harvey says that's odd. Arvold says that requires you to remove the baby, which will most likely definitely result in not living, but doesn't require you to kill it. Hawaii enacted a law that if you own a gun in your state and don't even have it with you, you have to register that you have that weapon when you go to Hawaii. Wow. It's a good reason not to go to Hawaii. Randy, that's semantics. Removing a baby which won't live is abortion. Plus, would you prefer to remove the baby and let it die slowly on the table? Quest says they want to go with the Constitution when it suits them. Harvey points out that yes, there are abortion survivors out there. And saying that you have fully functioning adults that survived a murder attempt. Oh man, the allergies are really acting up today. Randy says in that case, people in medical care should just be killed rather than trying to resuscitate. Arvold says you can't put a pre-19-week baby on a machine and keep it alive. Not yet, anyway. People died in hospitals that have no legitimate chance to survive, but the hospital will always try to resuscitate unless they have a DNR. Quest says the anti-Nazi thing sounds more like a witch hunt. It is. We got a big debate going on here about viability. Fanning says just because the bill is ostensibly to combat neo-Nazis doesn't mean it'll work that way. Intentions are less important than actual results. I might change the topic in topic chat, by the way, especially with Randy and Arvold going back after it. In fact, I'll do that before I go to work today. So We're going to continue this conversation in the Discord because I want to see and get Seawall and Midget and everybody else in Confused Commie into it as well. So, Randy, Arvolt, hold that thought, and we're going to bring this off into the Discord because I like where this is going. This is a good one. Seneca Campus says $10,000 of debt gimmies for the gender studies perverts, the women's studies I can't say that on with the AM radio audience, and the CCP enemies that infiltrated the colleges. Nah, let them learn to work in the mines and the fields. Let them eat fast food forever and bugs. Let them be deep well cleaners. Randy says, I swear they better not give $50K in debts when my wife used our money to pay her student loans off before leaving me. Lame. Oof, that one's too spicy, said. Quest says there are existing programs to reduce the payments with income-driven payment plans. After 10 years of regular pay, the remaining amount is forgiven. $109% guarantee, $10,000 in debt forgiveness would only benefit McDonald's. Reparations for college now. Quest says, I just took out a personal loan, nothing federal college related, with a sub 7% interest rate. With inflation so high, they're practically paying me to take their money. I'm glad I paid down credit debt and now have an excellent credit score. Yeah, I'm working on that. Realistically, most folks pay 50% of the gross income in rent, not the recommended 30% or less. I pay less. I meant most folks in New York City pay 50% of the gross income on rent. Quest says, I probably mentioned before, but my wife's cousins, husbands, friends, roommates, college acquaintance, cousins, friend was a clerk for, set to be a clerk for Scalia. Yeah, you had to mention that. Spicy, thank you, compliment taken. They're good at arts and crafts, though. Very much. Alright, and with that, we're done. Where's the outro music? Alright, with that, we are finished. We're done. Thanks everybody who came by and chatted throughout the week in the live chat. If you guys are not in the Discord yet, there's a link to the Discord on the Twitch and the YouTube sides going through the chat. There's also one in the description in the D-Live. Come and join us because I'm going to encourage Randy and Arvolt to continue this conversation and get some more people involved in it as well. I want to see where we can find out for medical necessity. So come back and join us for that. Come back and talk to us there. If you like what you saw, hit the donate buttons. They're PayPal, not the buy me a coffee because they suck. I need to get that out of there. Hit the PayPal, hit the subscribe star, hit the donations and this Prime sub over on the Twitch side if you guys really like what you see here. So come back and join us for that. One of my projects over the weekend here, because it's supposed to rain all weekend, I'm going to see if I can't get a hike in, but I'm going to do a video game stream and I'm going to work on getting emotes for the Twitch side as well, so you guys can have some Ed's World emotes. If you're going to pay the money to go back and watch on Twitch, I'm going to give you something to show for your money here, so go back and check that out as well. Otherwise, we'll be back here on Monday for more news, more headlines, half of today's show, and more contemporary. So come back and join us for that. We will see you next time. Stick around if you're over on the Twitch side. We are going raiding. We will see you here. Watch the Discord. and the Twitter for the announcements of when we're going here. I'm going to go and blow my nose, and we will see you next time over here on Contemporary. And until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.